that busy 17th Avenue living. Sorry about that right at the right moment. Okay. So welcome. Welcome to the Sacred Sister Circle. I am your host, Tatami, the Sacred Bruja, and we are here on April 1st for our 11th meetup on this calendar year 2018. This is my first sister circle that's virtual, and I'm excited to be here. I'm a Sacred Woman practitioner, and it's just been my honor this last 2 months enjoying going through the Sacred Woman book with all of you. I know that a lot of you usually come by a little after I make the video, and that's really awesome to see that, you know, people are still following through with their journey along the way. It's really beautiful because I know we're all in different time zones, and that can be frustrating. When I took my Sacred Woman practitioner course, I was here in California, and everybody else was here, over on the East Coast. It was crazy. Here, let me move you guys closer because I can see you're just seeing a lot of grass. There's no reason for that. Let's see. I think, yeah, you can see like the womb altar and everything. Okay. So yeah, like I said, Sacred Sister Circle. I'm really grateful to be here, and we're gonna get started for today. So today is our first day in Sacred Foods, which is one of the gateways I definitely struggle with. I'll definitely say that. I struggle with Sacred Foods. Why? Because I will say cheese and alcohol are definitely my vices. Cheese is just, it's cheese. They say it's like as addictive as alcohol when the scientists look into it. They say it's, as hard to break away from as many other substances, which I have broken away from other substances before. Last year I broke away from tobacco, which was it was a very hard substance for me to let go of. I didn't even realize it was that bad at the time. Or actually, it wasn't last year. It was the year before that. Sorry. It was the year I went through my Sacred Woman training. So it's been like a year and a half. It's something I let go. And it was really difficult for me, though, for sure. I'll say that. It was one of those, it was like a drug that someone snuck me. Like, we were all just smoking tree green, and somebody put it into a bowl. I hit it. I was like, this is crazy. What is this strain? And it was not weed. That's why it didn't feel like anything I'd felt before. It was not weed. So anyways, that started me on like an 8-month, not that long, cycle for that. So, but that was something that I unequivocally knew I did not want to be doing long term, even when I kind of, was buying loose leaf with a little native man on it. It looks natural. It's not. It's not the best substance to be too hard addicted to. But I mean, at the same time, it's something our ancestors definitely partook in, and when you buy it from other countries, it's not, the nicotine levels aren't as high, it's not as addictive, it's not as bad for your body. So that's something to look into if you do smoke tobacco. But anyway, sacred foods are things that you put into your body. That's the it's the physical portion kind of what we do. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, and a lot of people get annoyed at vegans or get annoyed at people who are always talking about your diet. But long story short, your energy will either go towards digesting foods that you shouldn't be digesting, or it will go towards the spiritual work you're trying to have done. It will go to trying to figure out how to get rid of, toxic hot dogs. They've linked modern ways of making hot dogs to cancer. There are, obviously, if you use salt and thyme, there are ways to make sausages and hot dogs that are very healthy. And if you use fresh sausages, fresh filled sausages, it's a little different. But directly, the hot dogs that you usually get are made with cancer-filled chemicals. And so, it's up to you with the choices. But at long story short, I think we can just say your energy will either go to trying to expel those cancer-filled hot dogs, or it will go towards trying to fulfill this spiritual need or even physical need. If you're somebody who's saying, I have fibroids, I have these diseases that I'm constantly, worried about. It's in the back of my mind. My doctor is worried about it. My family's kind of worried because if I'm gone, a lot of stuff will go to hell. So, if those are things that are on your mind, you have to be willing to not only commit, but discipline yourself to do the food aspect of it, the physical. Because your body here on earth, we always talk about the spiritual. People are always worried about the spiritual. Remain positive, do all these things. But the physical is actually very important. Another thing I'll throw out there, drinking one glass or one, shot, one part of the bottle every day is the same as binge drinking it all on Friday. It's all the same to the body, to the physical. To the mental, you feel better about yourself. Oh, I drink a little bit every day, and then it wasn't like I drank it all on Friday and felt shit on Saturday. No, I wasn't like that. I drank it little by little and felt classy with my pinky up the whole week. I don't know. However we justify it to ourselves. It's the same though. Physically to the body, it's the same. And so my philosophy, living as a human here on Mother Earth is a little bit different than Queen Afa was, which I'll talk about. Just because, Queen, she's older, she's lived her whole life, she's enjoyed it, she's done a lot of things with herself that, a lot of people who view this sister circle may not have already enjoyed that stuff, A lot of us haven't gone to Jamaica or Fiji and eaten fish straight out the sea. A lot of us haven't, had a traditional ceremony that involved, any sort of animal sacrifice or, animals being eaten afterwards. And so for me, our lives are not necessarily so stuck on that spiritual and the physical so much as we're trying to find our balance. So with this month, we're not just trying to switch our diets, we're trying to understand our personal balance in all of this and not, beat ourselves up because we had this event which ended up with us, partaking in a slight bit of meat or, dairy, what have you, or we accidentally eat it and then we beat ourselves up for a week. That's not what this group is about at all. And in fact, you don't really have to be vegan, and I prefer the term plant-based, I'll be real, because this group isn't really about ride or dying for the animals. Black people are still dying worldwide. I just don't feel like the animals are my main priority, but if they're your main priority, definitely, I respect that. However, this group is just about Black women, our progress, our growth, our connectivity and sisterhood. So, it's just, I'll just use the term plant-based, but no, I mean, when I say plant-based, I'm talking about a diet that is, 100% plant-based. It's not all of the environmental, which I believe in. It's not all of the animals, which I don't really, feel too much connectivity about necessarily. I don't like it, but I'm not going to march in the streets about it. So, it's about finding your balance. It's about finding what you prefer. It's about finding where, how much energy you're willing to put into that and, the good that it could do for you. If you're looking for a certain outcome, you might just need to change your diet. There's certain things, if you're doing everything else and you don't see a change, you might just need to change your diet. If you think that this huge disease needs to go away, I talked about this in a live thing on Instagram. You spent years or some abuser spent years putting trauma onto you, and you can't expect it to take just a little tiny bit of effort, a little tiny bit of dedication. Like, some abusers out there, be it you, be it like somebody else, some outside force, took years, took tons of energy, put all their effort into traumatizing you, fixing you to some other thing that you aren't. And so the idea that it's not going to take that same amount of energy and effort to heal it, to make it better, is, not reasonable. You have to keep in mind that it is going to take some sort of level of discipline, of sacrifice, of change for you to get something that you are interested in getting. So, with that said, we're going to move to our theme, which is sacred foods in a holy place. We're going to work on the libations and opening the gateway for this gateway. Let's see. We'll move that to sacred foods. We're on to the next. Okay, so literally the fire department is like right over there. I never realized how much people call the fire department until I lived here. Okay, so we have our sacred foods daily spiritual observances, which are on page 160 and 161 of your Sacred Woman book, if you have one. If not, never fear. I'll be reading the, to Tommy's good part version of Sacred Woman, and how to get through it without having it, and also how to get through it if you do have it in a tangible way, because it's easier when you have somebody explaining it to you, and then you can kind of go back and be like, yeah, I understand this stuff, because this book's really dense. It's kind of a hard book to just get through. So we're going to open the gateway and do libations first. And after we do libations, we're going to do the sacred foods prayer. Let me see. Oh, of course I forgot my bell, but that will be okay, I guess, for today. Maybe I'll go get it. I don't know. Here, we'll see. But we're going to just go through this part first. And at the end, we're going to chant, I am a sacred woman, right? Affirmations are not necessarily things that are right now, but it's what we want to be, or it's what we want to manifest in our lives. So we're going to speak it as a spell, with passion and meaning behind it. So, let's see. Oh, also, we're going to do our fire breaths today. We'll say 50 today, and we'll move to 100 next week, because we've been doing them for a few weeks, but we have a lot of new people today. So we'll just do a 50 just to make sure we're staying safe. Sacred and divine Ta'urt, spiritual guardian of the gateway of sacred food, please accept my deepest gratitude for your healing presence on my altar and in my life. Thank you for your guidance and inspiration, and for your love and blessings, and please accept my love and blessings in return. Hetepu. All praise and adoration to the spiritual guardian Ta'urt, protector of the food of the sacred earth. All praise and adoration to the ancestor of sacred food, Ost. All praises and adoration to the elder of sacred food, Amon Ra. All praises and adoration to my divine self and my contemporary divine sisters, Cher Cardin and Diane Chacon, who honor sacred food. Now is the time that we call on our ancestors who are personal to us. Here I call on my grandmother Anne and my mother-in-law, Miss Petrina. Sacred women in the making. Sacred women reawaken. Sacred spirit, hold me near. Protect me from all harm and fear beneath the stones of life. Direct my steps in the right way as I journey through this vision. Sacred spirit, surround me in your most absolute perfect light. Anoint me in your sacred purity, peace, and divine insight. Bless me, truly bless me, as I share this sacred life. Teach me, sacred spirit, to be in tune with the universe. Teach me how to heal with the inner and outer elements of air, fire, water, and earth. Help me to break my food addictions that cause me disease. Help me to avoid eating foods that cause cancer, high blood pressure, tumors, anxiety, and premature aging. Help me discern angelic foods over foods that create demonic action. Give me the power to eat foods that build my body temple of wellness, radiance, and health. May I be blessed to be of the mind to feed my body temple meatless, vegetarian, and fruitarian foods made to perfect and sustain my sacred body temple. May my debilitated taste buds be transformed and revitalized so I may take pleasure and delight in eating foods that your divine spirit has prepared for my healing. May I find solace in consuming sacred organic fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, sprouts, and pure water. May all these gifts of true nourishment make me into a holy light being, a sacred woman. I am 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 a sacred woman. 100 or 50, sorry, today 50. We breathe in all the way and breathe out all the way. We breathe in slowly first, and then we do rapid fire breathing 50 times. Your stomach fills, it goes out. Your lungs empty, it goes in. You feel it. It's not about looking good. It's about filling yourself with this cleansing oxygen in the air and preparing yourself to connect spiritually. Right, remember, if you feel lightheaded or like it's too much, always stop and just regulate your breathing. Feel yourself again. You don't want to pass out. You want to build yourself up slowly to the point where you can do these. And fire breathing is just an excellent way to, when you fill your brain up with the oxygen, it's a better way to connect spiritually with whatever it is that you're attempting to connect spiritually to. Could be, before you do a ritual, before you connect with plant life, right? A lot of the time you have to, when you do hoodoo root work, you have to go out there and connect with the plant life spiritually. And so before you do that, you can do your fire breathing, but you should also just make it a daily commitment to do it. And that's how you'll build up to be able to do more and more. When you do the Sacred Woman gateways with Queen Afua, it's a little bit quicker than what we're doing now, but just because I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do 50, 100. Maybe start with 10 if that's where your lungs and your circulation are at. It's wise to just focus on where you are and definitely never want to get to the point where you are so lightheaded that you are going to pass out, throw up, or anything of that nature. Just listen to your body, listen to your intuition, and follow along all of the gateways, all of the activities at your own pace. All right, so I didn't light our sage, so I think that would be really nice right now. Keep in mind also, I'll just say this while we're doing this, if you did not do anything for the full moon, it's not too late. Never forget that the full moon is not just one day. You have time around that day. It's like 3 days, I'm pretty sure, that a full moon will last. The energy will last. So you still have time if you want to dance, if you want to, follow along with what we did, or if you want to do your own thing, whatever it is you had in mind. It's not too late to take advantage of this double blue moon and also spring moon energy. So today our first reading is from the Dust to Onyx guidebook. This has quickly just become one of my go-to spiritual books. I know she is looking for people to back the second round of Dust to Onyx. So if you do not have this deck, let me tell you, this deck is a spiritual experience. I'm not even a super tarot guru. I'm not good with all that. That's not my forte at all. Actually, I mean, I can do tarot, but memorizing that, doing all that is just kind of, it's not my favorite. It always works, which is why I buy tarot decks, why I bought this one. I backed it back when it was doing its first round, 2016. But it's not my favorite to do for others because tarot just feels so personal. It's like when I read myself, I don't want to ever post my cards because I'm just like, this is too personal. People will just read the shit out of me. So I never post it. But I mean, this deck is it's like your ancestors talking to you. It's a magical experience. She really channels it. The other deck that I feel like I really love is Manzel's tarot. He's Art X-Men on Instagram. I got one of the last 3 decks he sold. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I went and I was like, oh my goodness, he only has 3 decks left. So I bought it, and his deck is really beautiful, but it almost feels like more contemporaries, elders, people who are alive. If you want to feel like you're really connecting to the ancestors, I think Courtney did an amazing job. And then keep in mind, her deck is $50, and it feels like it connects to the ancestors, and it comes with this amazing guidebook. Art X-Men's Manzel's is $100, and it has like, you know, gold foil lining. It comes with a little box. Hers comes with a huge box. It comes with this beautiful big box. It comes with this experience. It comes with this book, which is just mind-boggling. All of this stuff, it was like $50. I'm pretty sure she's still selling it for the same price, and she's looking for people to back the second round. So if you're looking for a way to connect spiritually in an African Black sense, as well as utilize something that's really popular right now, tarot, and also something that I'm really trying to tout, which is bibliomancy. This book has, I know, I'm doing a full-blown commercial. I'm not paid, y'all. I paid to give you this commercial today. She has all of the pages. I mean, all of the cards are in this book, and it's not as beautiful as the cards themselves, because the cards themselves have just the depth. They have gold flecks. It's beautiful, but I mean, the book itself has each card picture. It has a thorough description. I mean, who writes a full page for each card? Nobody does this. So anyways, that's my plug. If you are wondering what the heck this book is, I'm always pulling it out every other sister circle. It's because it's powerful. It's because she definitely channeled a lot of people with this. So when I opened up this book for this sister circle, I pulled out Mama Blade. So I'm going to come a little closer so you can look at her a little bit. So she is a mixture of Michelle Obama and of, who is it? Maya Angelou. Okay, Michelle Obama and Maya Angelou. So her page is, her words are awakened, penetrating, disciplined, autonomous, ethical, sophisticated. The two quotes at the top, one from Michelle Obama. She says, "You should never view your challenges as a disadvantage. Instead, it's important for you to understand that your experience facing and overcoming adversity is actually one of your biggest advantages." It's about, not totally about the end result. It's about the journey and what makes you into the person you are at the end result. Then we have Maya Angelou. "The fact that the adult American Negro woman emerges a formidable character is often met with amazement, distaste, or even belligerence. It is seldom accepted as an inevitable outcome of the struggle won by a survivor, and deserves respect, if not enthusiastic acceptance." So those are Maya Angelou. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. This is one of the Faces cards, so it has a little more written about it than other cards, which I found fitting for the beginning of spring, which is a beginning of change. If you're joining this group for the first time, this is a big change in your life. So we're going to just read it in total, but I'm also going to give some insight into each of these, and also how it reflects on our spiritual life and sacred foods in that sense. Mama Blade is the spirit of air and water. Water urges us to follow our hearts, whereas air challenges us to elevate our minds. These elements come together within Mama Blade to keep her head above the water, so that she isn't blinded, carried away, helping her maneuver through even the harshest life conditions. When the waters get choppy, she catches the wind and rides the waves to the open shore, where she can then plant her feet on solid ground. I'm going to repeat that. When the waters get choppy, she catches the wind and rides the waves to the open shore, where she can then plant her feet on solid ground. She can also be like an air knife that blows away unnecessary particles, blowing the cover on any who try to deceive her. She has a gift for seeing people's true nature. It can be difficult to be under her scrutiny, yet comforting to have her see the light of who you really are. This also makes her slow to trust, but when she does, she demands loyalty and consistency. In turn, you will receive no less than the same. When things start getting hard for you, that's not the time for you to get sad. Your morals, the rules that you're putting out, these expectations you have for yourself, they're not for when times are perfectly easy. They're for when times are hard, you make the decision that will most benefit yourself or most benefit your family, your God, however it is that you are choosing to try and change your life into. As someone who has faced much adversity, Mama Blade has the wisdom. She has the wisdom we all need to dissolve the ego and do what must be done to rise above the tumultuous waves in the crumbling earth. When she's ill-defined, Mama Blade can be like a gale-force wind, carrying a destructive wall of intense emotion to your doorstep. She will not be denied, and she will rain down on anyone who opposes her. Yet, she can be like an air bubble sinking deeper into placid waters, keeping her mind isolated, shrinking as it sinks deeper into the dark waters. At worst, she is spiteful and vindictive, intent on seeing her enemies succumb to her control, playing puppeteer with their lives. Mama Blade's face is inspired by the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, with the eyes of Dr. Maya Angelou. Michelle's sun and Mercury are in the sign of Capricorn. Especially in her early years, she was ambitious and she was career-focused. Balancing her work with her family proved to be a difficult task for her in her early marriage. Her moon conjunct Venus in Pisces and North Node in the sign of Cancer has required her to nurture her warm and vulnerable and feminine nature to be a mother. So Michelle Obama had that compulsion to have a husband, to have children, to nurture them and help them grow and be their mother and continue on that lineage. She had a compulsion in one sector of her life. Simultaneously, she had a compulsion to be great in her career, to be great in her life's work, whatever she felt that was. Her Saturn, the teacher and builder, is at home in Aquarius, which is the realm of science and social institution. Mama Blade fulfills her soul mission not only through her literal role as a mother, but also as an advocate of women and children. That's her balance. But also with nutrition reform. So I thought that was really interesting that we got a card based on Michelle Obama, who is somebody who fought so hard for nutritious reform, and she is, right here at the beginning of Gateway to Sacred Foods, is somebody who spent her time in the place of the spotlight, advocating for health, for especially health in our communities, but also around America. Dr. Maya Angelou's sun is in Aries with Mercury and Venus in Pisces, which can be uniquely expressive. Mercury, the communicator, is in its fall in Pisces, where words can be lost and the mind drowning in feeling. Dr. Angelou was mute for 5 years due to sexual trauma. She turned this difficult aspect around by diving into literature and honing her creative. Mars in Aquarius is indicative of her role as a sex worker in her young adult years. In air, this fiery planet is calculating and willing to step outside of societal conventions to achieve their goal. I think that's such a powerful statement. They recently said that there was like a police officer or a sheriff who was fired because of her dominatrix past. But when you think of Maya Angelou, such a wonderful speaker, poet, everything, being fire from being a poet or being, you know, someone beloved by everyone because of her sexual worker past is, you know, it's ludicrous in our minds. But it's something that we have to consider. Is should we always degrade somebody for their past or even present in which they are throwing off societal norms in order to achieve their greatest goal? For you, that might be whatever it is, you know, you're going on in your personal life, be that spiritually, with family, with, you know, other relationships you have, with work. There are ways that you have to reconcile within yourself. Is it worth it for me to throw off societal norms because the greater end result might be more than you've ever imagined, or it might, you know, set the precedence for something bigger than you've ever, you know, conceived of before. Mama Blade teaches us to I don't know if I read it. It said her goal in her work was to bring the world together through love, equality, and deeper understanding, and a compassion for human nature. Mama Blade teaches us to recognize the power of our own mind, the reality we are creating, and the roles that we are playing. She demands that we know who we are, seeking higher knowledge, and working towards equality and justice. We are to keep our heads above water, lest we succumb to the illusion of our primal subconscious. A deep understanding of humanity, paired with a perceptive mind, makes one powerful. This power must not be used for ill will, nor must we lose sight, lack prudence, or become careless due to our egos. She challenges us to release any fear of our illusions being shattered, because through self-mastery we find liberation. Okay, so when we see Mama Blade, we are asked to be more disciplined. We're asked to be more sophisticated. We're asked to be more mature, to grow, is in essence what's happening. And so that's kind of with discipline, with maturity, with all those things that we're asking for. That is what we're working towards when we work through each gateway, right? We're working towards the growth, spiritually, physically, what have you. Whatever our goals may personally be, that's what we're asking for. So Mama Blade is also reminding us, though, that discipline is kind of a choice. I watched this video recently, which many people, it's been shared millions of times. Anyways, it's, in essence, the woman is talking about that moment when the alarm goes off and you choose to either stand up straight in bed and get up, or you choose to hit snooze, go back to sleep. There's like 3 to 6-ish seconds in every human's brain where we know what we should be doing and we could do it, but then our brain kicks in and it convinces us that we should lay back down again, do this later, it's not worth it, it's not going to come of anything, you can't do it, whatever it is that you tell yourself to not do that thing. So that is what we work on here in this, sector when it comes to sacred foods. You have that 5 seconds where you can decide to either succumb to whatever it is that you've given up and decided isn't worth it, or you can choose to follow along and be disciplined with whatever it is you've chosen is worth disciplining to. And that's not just for food, right? All of the lessons of all of the gateways apply to all of the gateways. So you can choose to be disciplined about what you say. You can if like, let's say you're saying like, oh, I was drunk. Oh, I was, high, or I was stressed. I was angry. I was out of my mind. All of those little things. Then you say to yourself, I cannot drink, or I should not drink, or I should not do those things if I set myself up for a position where I could not control my own mouth. I set myself up, because the thing is the true power of each gateways is recognizing where you've been putting your power on somebody else, where you recognize that literally it is about just letting things go and moving on to the next, climbing the next mountain, putting faith in yourself, doing it. You know, there are a bunch of things in life that, yes, are other people's faults, but there are like a million more that are our own faults. When you calculate all the times that you told yourself, oh, I should do this, and then that will happen, and that, but you never did it. That was your fault, and that happens all the time. That happens daily, weekly, monthly, constantly. You tell yourself you're going to do something, you should do something, and you don't do it. And if that's happening to you, if that sounds familiar, then that's you holding yourself back. Those are a billion ways. There are maybe 1,000 ways somebody else is holding you back, but there's a billion ways that you are holding you back. So at the end of the day, it's about that change that you're willing to make in yourself. That's what Mama Blade is about. That's what Michelle Obama is about. That's what Maya Angelou is about. It wasn't about this outside force that was looking in. You know, Michelle Obama had all the racism, and people were calling her, you know, a transvestite, a man, trying to be derogatory, getting angry when she showed her shoulders, when the most recent first lady has done way more than that. And, you know, nobody cares. You know, Michelle Obama was put through the ringer, but it wasn't about all that. You know, it wasn't, and I'm sure she went through that before when she was a lawyer, and before that when she was at law school, and before that when she was just at, you know, prep school or wherever. She went through, you know, having to bite the bullet on what she couldn't change and focus on what she could. Maya Angelou, same thing. It wasn't about this man that she thought she had killed with her voice by stating what violation and trauma he had inflicted upon her. It was about trusting the elder, or, you know, in her case, the person in her community was an elder, but it could be anybody for you. And trusting that voice that said that she could grow, focusing on what she could do, which was read, which was memorize, which was love and understand, you know, words and how they worked. And, you know, building up on that herself, she was able to make that change. So it really is like, it's not that there aren't outside forces holding you down, it's that you also are holding you down. What are you going to do to conflict that? Alright, so our second reading here. Okay. So this poem is called Heritage. It's by Claude McKay, who was a prominent poet. He was a prominent poet in the Harlem Renaissance, born in Jamaica, but he lived in, you know, America, passed in Chicago years later. So he was pretty American. Heritage. Now the dead past seems vividly alive, and in this shining moment I can trace, down through the vista of the vanished years, your fawn-like form, your fond, elusive face. And suddenly some secret springs released, and unawares a riddle is revealed, and I can read like large black lettered print what seemed before a thing forever sealed. I know the magic word, the graceful thought, the song that fills me in my lucid hours, the spirit's wine that thrills my body through and makes me music drunk, are yours, all yours. I cannot praise, for you have passed from praise, and I have no tinted thought to paint you true. But I can feel and I can write the word. The best of me is but the least of you. So again, this poem is called Heritage. I thought it very appropriate for what we do, especially as a hoodoo-oriented group. It's a poem about connecting with your ancestors. He says, and suddenly some secret springs released, and unawares a riddle is revealed, and I can read like large black lettered print what seemed before a thing forever sealed. I feel like that's almost like how the internet feels like to a lot of us. We're able to connect with each other with books that we would have never known even were in print, with, communities, Facebook groups, Instagram followers, friends, pages, social media, whatever, that allows us to understand things that even when we were just children, even 10, 20 years ago, that we would have never even thought possible. It was like not something we could tangibly connect to. And then now we understand, ancestral veneration and worship, and we're able to connect in that way. And I also thought it powerful when he said, I cannot praise, for you have passed from praise. And he says, the best of me is but the least of you. Carrying on the proud memory of our ancestors is passing on that tradition of praise. It's the way we keep them alive. It's the way we keep the culture alive, the spirit alive, the movement going. And so I just thought this was just a beautiful poem for us to connect with in that sense, but also in the sense that when you hear that poem, you understand his joy, his shock, his elation, which reminds us that it's a connective, it's a powerful journey. It's worth the undertaking. You can praise the ancestors through your life, and it's with that being said, though, and when we're going through sacred foods, we have to remember times were different, food was different, the economy was different. So when you're cooking foods for your ancestors, which we are going to be doing this month, just this month we're cooking for the ancestors. You don't want to just feed them vegan foods, even though that's what you're going to be eating. You can, but I mean, fixing them food with your own hands, unless it's like excellent vegan food. I mean, like, if your ancestors' favorite food was fried chicken, I mean, you should probably fry them some chicken. If you're making a whole feast, doing a whole serving each ancestor thing, make them something they'd want to eat. It's also about honoring your heritage, is learning about it and following it and understanding it. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to start us. It's time for our slight break. So we're an hour deep. We have got the Sacred Woman gateways to go. So if you have something to smoke, or if you want to just drink some water, you can. Other than that, yeah, it's up to you. So, let's see. Alright, I'm going to be starting to make some podcasts for every gateway, so you can be on the lookout for those. What I'm going to read next for our activity is like a meditation from the book, but it's going to be also put into a podcast later, I think, for this gateway. But I'm going to do one for each gateway.
Hey there, you, shattered in 1,000 pieces, weeping in the darkest night. Hey there, you, trying to stand up on your own 2 feet and stumbling through the sky. Hey you, when the lights go out and you're on your own. How you gonna make it through till the morning sun? Sing to the moon and the stars will shine over you, lead you to the other side. Sing to the moon and the stars will shine over you. Heaven's gonna turn the tide. Hey there, you, looking for a brighter season, need to lay your burden down. Hey there, you, drowning in a helpless feeling, buried under deeper ground. When the lights go out, it's a waiting game. Hey there, never gonna see a day when your world will change. Sing to the moon and the stars will shine over you, lead you to the other side. Sing to the moon and the stars will shine over you. Heaven's gonna turn the tide. Even if I feel the sun on my skin every day, if I don't feel you, even if I see the most beautiful things up in the sky, if I don't see you, take me, oh yeah, take me, oh yeah, take me, oh yeah, take me, oh yeah. Even if my hands can catch the wind, catch the clouds, if I don't see you, even if I feel the sun on my skin every day, if I don't feel you, take me, oh yeah, take me, oh yeah, take me, oh yeah, take me, oh yeah. Toi le soleil, l'unité, toi qui parles à mon cœur.
Fuck it, I'm dancing, y'all.
Toi le soleil, l'unité, mais qui parle sans moi. Toi qui parles sans moi. Take me, oh yeah. Take me, oh yeah. Take me, oh yeah. Take me, oh yeah. Where me
As fun as this is. Okay. So, every time we always go over one of the 42 laws of Ma'at. So today's law is I will not desecrate holy places. A very appropriate law for the beginning of sacred foods. But generally, I will not desecrate holy places. We can think of that as not only a temple of some sort or a place where we go to praise. That can be from some sort of church or a physical temple that has been built or erected. That can be an altar you keep in your home. That can be a place you go when you go on a nature walk and you always end up at the same place or with the same tree or however you handle it. Essentially, that is your sacred place. That's what, like, leave no trace. When we hear that, that's taking care of your sacred space. If your sacred space is Mother Earth, which it should be for all of us, that should be just one of our sacred spaces, then that's a way you take care of that, as a holy place that you take care of. This moves on also to keeping your home clean, to which is something I've struggled with like a lot of my life, is, you know, especially after having kids, is just keeping up with all of the things that need to be done. It feels like there's always someone right behind me messing everything up, be that my kids or my husband or guests. I've had guests who are just messy, very messy guests. And so, which, you know, happens, but some people are just, you know, chronically messy, not good guests. There's a difference between someone who has a mistake. Anyways, so that's, you know, your home, though, that is your holy place. That's a place where you need to, that's where you keep your altars, your ancestor altar, your womb altar, your personal altars of whatever sorts that you have felt appropriate to have for a deity, for your each individual child, or for someone sick in your family, whatever it is that you felt the need to create for. You also have your body, that, right, that you need to be treating well. And so that is where having the sacred foods comes into play, is feeding your body the wellness that it not only needs but deserves. So let's see, we have for Gateway 2, making the kitchen a more holy place. It helps make being fed sacred foods all the easier. When you're set up to win, when you're set up not to fail, it's easier. When your kitchen is clean, when your kitchen has the foods that you're supposed to be eating, when your kitchen, when you have the tools in your mind to just reach out, oh, I have this, I have this, I have this, I can do this. That is your personal way of setting yourself up for success. When you have nothing but hot dogs and corn dogs and whatever else it is, I don't know, dogs, mac and cheese, I don't know. When you only have carbs and meat and dairy in your home, those are the only things you can eat. When you only have cottage cheese and, you know, mayonnaise and all those things in your home, that's what you're going to eat. But it's also important when you're transitioning to make sure that you're not going totally overboard and setting yourself up to failure by totally eliminating everything that has been near to and dear to you initially. That does work for some people, to cut everything out. It's all done. I'm done. That works for a lot of people. If that's you, that's good. But in this situation, I think it's just wiser when you're trying to make it a whole lifestyle. It's not like you're just trying to get some certification. There's no certification with this, right? We're just living our lives trying to better ourselves as humans and apply bettering ourselves spiritually and physically to the workplace, our family, our everyday, how we're living. So, you know, there's no need to cheat here. There's no need also to feel like, you know, someone's judging you or there and you need to change everything now. Which, I mean, if you do need to change everything now, someone is there watching you, telling you you need to change, maybe you should just change now. That sounds great. But if it's not that type of urgency, if it's the urgency like my life needs to turn around and I need to make this permanent switch, I highly suggest taking it one step at a time. So this month, I need you to think critically to yourself, be honest, maybe use your pendulum if that is what it takes, whatever it is you need, and figure out what is that one thing, 1 or 2 tops. Seriously, 3 if you're OCD or spiritually inclined and you need that third, you need the odd number, I don't know. But seriously, it should not be a ton of things. You need to cut back on something that is serious to do. If you are saying, well, I'm addicted to chocolate, alcohol, cheese, and meat and ribs, I don't know. You know, you have like 5 things on your list. I think it's best to say, especially if you're saying I'm super addicted to these things, it's best to say I'm getting rid of one. What is the one thing? And that can be the easiest, it can be the hardest. Nobody's judging you. Nobody's like, well, I think you're more addicted to meat than alcohol, or alcohol than meat, so maybe you should vice versa that and do something else. No. It's up to you. But whatever you choose, let's stick with it this month. Whatever it is you choose, let's believe in it this month. Let's go wholeheartedly all in, whatever it is. If you're here, watching this, comment what it is. If you want to be held a little more accountable, if you want someone else to see it, if you want it permanently. What's on the internet is forever. So if you want it to be permanent, somebody saying what it is. This month for me, personally, it's me. It's done. I've occasionally, over the last 2 months since we started the Sister Circle, if I come in, it's been a long week. I've been doing finals. I've been doing homework. I do homework up the butt, like my husband, he struggles with school, and he's in school right along with me. And so whenever he has struggles, he turns to me. He's like, I need help with this. I need help with that. Can you reread this? Can you reread that? Help me out, And so for me, it's almost like I'm doing, 2 loads of schoolwork. I'm doing so much, just trying to help keep me up and to make sure I'm keeping him up with his schoolwork levels. And so for me, I felt like these last few weeks, it was easier, especially on Sunday night when 3 classes had something to do. It was easier to just, whatever my husband decided to order in, whatever he decided to cook. Mondays and Sundays were kind of my hard days, especially when it gets to midnight. I've done the Sister Circle. I've stayed up the night before, making sure that the words in my journal were what the readings that I wanted to do, seeing if there was anything I wanted to add. I have these whole journals which I totally left inside, and I'm gonna have to play music and go get anyways, which is what our activity. But I've been redoing my journals. It's just a lot of things. And so for me, it's been easier to just eat whatever he has. If the pizza had a little meat on it, there were a few times that I just didn't even care, or I didn't even notice, to be honest. There were a few times I bit into meat, I didn't even realize. I was just hungry. Food was there. It felt easiest. It felt good. So, I was just able to go all in. So anyways, I'm going to pause us. Oh, should I just do these? I am no. You know what? We're gonna just do the activity. I'm gonna make a whole separate video for that, and we're gonna all cherish each other in that way. Because I feel so bad. I made this whole binder, my binders from all the work I did as a sacred woman under Queen Afua. I did all that stuff, made it into a nice binder for our Sister Circle, and I left it inside because it's my first day using it, and it just totally went over my mind. So sadly, we're just going to skip that, and it's going to be a little shorter than it was supposed to be today, but I think that's okay. We're going to come back later. So, the book says that we have 7 more days to stop eating meat totally, and to commit to that for the whole month. I'm starting that right now. I'm also going to commit to only drinking on the weekends, not drinking during the week. So that's for me, for personal. I think drinking is just one of those things I do struggle with, and worse, I just don't like how it will make me tired, and then I can't do things that I was interested in doing. And so with that, it's just something that I think I'm going to start weaning off of. But because I'm already giving off meat, I don't want to do all these things ultimatums on myself. So that I'm just going to do weekends, and then meat is no more starting today. I'm not doing it. Which I have been doing really well this last, 2 weeks. I don't think it's been since I accidentally ate meat. But here we are. So we have page 164 is our reading for today. So this reading is page 164 from our Sacred Woman book. She says, it's called We Become One with All We Consume. That's the only part we're reading today. What we consume dictates who we are and what we are. Whatever we consume, we become. Wait a second. I'm gonna just double check this, sorry. Okay, so she did just make a gateway. She made an error in the book. I was so confused for a second. Okay, so she said gateway 3 sacred foods. I'm like, I don't understand. So anyways, that's an error in the book if you're reading it. We are in gateway 2 sacred foods. Anyways, gateway 2 sacred foods shows us how to consume on the highest and purest level to transform ourselves into our highest possible vibration as light beings. As we study and apply the sacred woman philosophy, ascending towards the top of the pyramid, Merkut, we are consuming greater purity, self-knowledge, peace, healing, and wholeness. We are consuming the knowledge that supports the lifestyle of an evolved woman, consuming our fill of light until we are fully enlightened and empowered. With each tasty bite of self-awareness, we cast out the thoughts of foods, situations, and people that starve our own sacredness. Right, that's what we're also doing. Sacred foods is not only the physical, it is a spiritual aspect of, are we starving ourselves from our own ancestors, right? We read about heritage. Are we starving ourselves from our own ancestors? Are we starving ourselves from our own heritage? Are we starving ourselves from our own spiritual wellness and the levels that we could personally be reaching? As sacred women in the making, we are increasingly sustained by the illumination of the Most High Divine. As this inner light grows, we begin to express our true, glorious nature for all to witness. We consume and become the company we keep. We consume and become our own environment. The lie and the dye we put on our scalps seeps down into our brains, flooding our sacred crowns with toxicity, dementing our own minds. We become the vision we consume. We become the sounds we consume. We become the smells that we consume. So in this way, I don't think that Queen Afua is necessarily saying, oh, you can never wear a wig, you can never, enjoy yourself in that authentic expression of yourself, because that's not true, right? We know this because a lot of Queen Afua's sacred women do wear wigs, right? We have Hadia Barbell is the number one I can think of. She's the dancing hair goddess on Instagram, and that's her sacred work, is making these gorgeous, like, waist length, curly and locked wigs that are just, they come in all colors, blonde, brunette, black, but it's something that shows you, are you doing what you're doing in a helpful way? Are you doing it in a way that will actually benefit you? Or are you doing it in a way that will, bring you back in the ways that you say that you're trying to grow in, that you say you're trying to, you're saying, I'm trying to be healthy, I'm trying to do all these things. Are you though? That's what she's saying here. We become the men we allow to consume our wounds in the heat of the night as he flows through our veins and even after he's gone. If it tastes good, we keep needing a fix, even if it ain't in the mix. And this goes for women too. Whoever you're allowing to consume your womb energy. Girl, watch out who you eat and who's eating you. Don't let that person become a drug and ruin you, because for a sacred woman, that just won't do. Our vaginas drink in this essence, and we reflect their nature, good or bad, toxic or pure. Oh, but when a woman consumes the essence of a pure soul, her soul is filled and fulfilled as she dances in the crescent of the moon. We must also beware of the television programming that we consume, for what we watch creates who we become. They say entertainment, the root words of entertainment is that it comes inside, it enters, right? It goes into you. So when people say, oh, it's just entertainment, it's just something funny, It's something that comes into your mind and it sticks in there. It stays in there. It alters things that you've already thought of, already seen, already, you know, it changes your perception, whether you want it to or not. It's there now. It's something you have in your arsenal to think about. So when you put yourself willingly in front of a show that may degrade black people, black women, or you put yourself in front of something that does not fulfill the spiritual, you know, aspect that you are trying to do, you're thinking, oh, I want to, you know, get to the next level spiritually, but you spend all of your time watching, you know, things that aren't about that at all. You're wasting a lot of your time. That's plain and simple. But further, when you're wasting it, you are filling your mind still. It's not like you're not filling your mind, you are, but you're filling it with the exact opposite of what you said that you were trying to fill it with. As we consume the countless subliminal suggestions, who knows what it creates within, as we consume righteousness, inspiring visions of our soul's ascension, we grow wiser. For us to ascend upward and outward, to become a reflection of the divine, we must be especially mindful about raising the vibration of the foods that we are consuming. As we systemically ascend through the various sacred women gateways, we need to consume a higher ratio of live foods that are filled with living enzymes that contain more oxygen and nutrition. So remember, this is something I was saying that somebody I was taught by taught me, was that everything is filled with Ashe, right? That's basic. That's why when you're doing your hoodoo, your root work, you're not going to use just some random herbs that you just bought if they have no meaning to you, connection to you, connecting to anybody that means something to you, right? If you're just buying random herbs from random who knows, you know, who knows what that herb went through, who knows what that plant went through, you're not really consenting. And further, there's no more Ashe in it because it's dried. The life of the plant, literally the energy, the life energy of the plant is gone. And so it's better, why buy those roots from Ohio when you've got roots under your feet, when you've got grass under your feet, you've got, you know, what people call weeds under your feet, you've got, you know, natural plants that are, you know, of the place that you're living. Doesn't matter if you're not from the, you know, swamps of somewhere else. If you're from where you're living, where you're at, there's something growing there. There's some life somewhere in there. There's something you can be doing. You know, even people who live in the desert do sand magic, you know. So it's about using the living things. So transferring that idea of, in hoodoo we use the living things, you transfer that to, why am I then eating dead things that, like, once you pick the plant, it still has green in it, right? It still has the Ashe in there. It's still doing things that will survive for a day or 2, 3, a week, you know, still have some color, some green, some life. When you kill the animal, it's a much quicker process to lose that life force energy, right? We're not there killing the bear with our bare hands, breathing its last breath into our lungs. We're getting it weeks later, shipped from who knows where, after surviving who knows what abuse. And further, it's not even necessary to eat that much of meat. Even if it was necessary to eat it, let's say argue, you do not need to eat meat for every meal. That is a lie. You do not need to eat dairy for every meal to be healthy. That is a lie. So, you know, even if you were to continue eating meat, keep in mind you do not need to eat the vast amount that people are consuming. You do not need to ever drink a full glass of milk, cow's milk, for anything. There's no reason. It's not nutritionally sound. So when she's asking you and she's saying you are filling yourself with the living enzymes that contain more oxygen and more nutrition, you are, the living is the huge part of that. That's part of hoodoo. That's part of that African traditional living, is eating live things, eating things that still have the Ashe, because you're filling it yourself. You're filling it. And further with that, when you're filling it yourself with the Ashe, later this afternoon, automatically it will be published on the Patreon. I wrote a little essay about the importance of praying over your food. I won't spend too much time over it, but again, that is a way of putting the ashe into your food, and also of blessing your food, filling it with that good energy, and then consuming that good energy, putting it within yourself. Let's continue. Because we become the foods we eat, the thoughts we think, and the emotions we feel. When we consume life-giving, organic, and uncooked vegetarian foods, our body temple reawakens from the grave of flesh. We are no longer tired and warm. When we drink freshly pressed vegetable juices, such as cucumber, watercress, parsley, broccoli, or kale daily, the cells rejuvenate. When we consume beets, cranberries, our blood is purified and our circulation improves, leaving us with healthy, radiant skin and a cleansed disposition. When we consume okra and vegetable salads with a bit of garlic, our colon cleanses out old toxins, waste, gases, and worms. As we consume gotu kola tea and spirulina, the algae from the sea, combined with fresh juices, our brain becomes activated. Our memory improves and our senses focus. We become sharp once again. When we drink ginger tea and put leeks and scallions in our soup, our lungs expand and detox, giving us greater vitality and vigor as we eat away our hay fever, asthma, and stagnation. So my thing with this, one thing I thought about when I was just reading that paragraph is how there's always this next level, right? It's like you become vegetarian, somebody's like, you need to become vegan. You become vegan, someone's like, you need to be eating raw. You become raw, somebody's like, garlic is toxin and broccoli was made by the white man. You know, there will always be somebody who's trying to tell you what you're doing is not enough. And that is when we really look at ourselves and we think about Mama Blade and the balance. What is the balance for myself? What is my job goals, my family goals, my spiritual goals? How does that all come together holistically and realistically for myself and my family? Obviously, there will never be a time when you can really justify eating like a roast rump every meal of the day for the rest of your life. There's no God demands that, no family requires that nutritionally. Nobody needs that, you know what I'm saying? On the other hand, if you put garlic on your food for flavor, you should not beat yourself up. If you are still occasionally drink a cup or what I tell you. So if you still occasionally drink a cup of something, coffee, you know, caffeine, if you're still drinking alcohol, if you're still, you know, when you actually, it's actually when you go out, not like every day, but when you go out, you eat like a wing or something like that. I mean, I wouldn't, just because it would be, in my mind, wiser to get some kind of fresh meat if I was just going to indulge. But if you know, you're at the local bar and you just don't care or whatever, like, it's not a problem. You really only live once. There's really no need to beat yourself up, because occasionally you enjoy yourself. And if enjoying yourself to you is having that once every couple months, you know, out with your friends, eat something that is not necessarily plant-based, that's, you know, the risk you're willing to take for your happiness. That doesn't make any, you know, sense to be angry at yourself for that, or be like, it's all ruined, I'm done. You're not done. You just one time did your own thing. You know, what was good for yourself, and spiritually that might fulfill you, just like spiritually it fulfills your ancestors to get a, you know, bite of chicken every once in a while. And we are going to be cooking for our ancestors, I think not next week, but the third week of this month. We are going to be cooking for the ancestors. So I know that that's like closer to the end of the month. That's when a lot of people don't have as much money. So I'm going to be putting that out there here, and I'm also going to put it out there later. I might cook with y'all. I don't know. I'm not that like great of a cook. So like, this is always, like I said, this is like a gateway I struggle with too. But you know, I don't see why we shouldn't try to cook with each other all week. I don't see why not. All right. So where are we? On the other hand, if you find yourself without energy, cancer cells have taken over your body, you're feeling sexually aggressive, and you have become just desperate for any old man to fill your bed, you've become damaged within your immune system, you're easily getting infections, this means that you've probably been experiencing a meat overdose. If you've had tumors surgically removed from the womb or breast, you will find that they will grow back with each piece of flesh consumed. If you're experiencing shortness of breath, lots of mucus, check to see if milk, cheese, ice cream are a key portion of your diet and your consumption. So this goes back to what I was saying before. If you're serious about certain diseases, if that is your main focus for following this sister circle or this journey in general, this book, diet is huge. Okay? Even spiritually, if you're trying to like discipline yourself, if you feel like you're stagnant, blah, 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 then diet is huge. That's something you're struggling with. If you're telling yourself, oh, it's not a big deal, but you're like eating all these foods that are kind of a big deal and it's constant and you're actually addicted to it. It's not every 3 months you know, oh, I was out with friends and I accidentally, like, you know, oh, and I ate this and it was like, oh, that was cheese once it was in my mouth. Oops. You're actually one of those people who smokes all the time, but you say you only do it on special occasions. Then you need to actually discipline yourself. You need to be that person who in that 5 seconds you learn in that 5 seconds to just do it. Just put the cigarette out. Just leave the party. Just leave McDonald's. Just go cook it. Just, you know it will be easy. You know all the ingredients are right there. You know you prepped a couple things. Just go cook it. Okay, that's when you need to be serious. When you have these fibroids and the doctor says you only have a couple months, or the doctor wants to give you medicine that you don't feel comfortable taking, when the doctor wants to have you do all these procedures and you're like, oh, I have a lot of people who do this. Oh, sacred woman Tatami, you've studied in this. What do I do? The doctor, I have fibroids, I have this, I have that. What do I do? And I say you need to change your diet completely. If you have this disease, it's proven, you know it without a doubt, and you want to fix it without any of that outside interference, either surgery, which it will come to if you don't take care of it, or antibiotics, which is what the doctor would recommend, which would, again, throw your womb kind of off balance. It's going to introduce hormones that you've already spent all this time trying to cleanse out and overcome. It would feel like a setback, but again, if it comes down to it, there are times when you do need to just go take antibiotics. It's too late. You've done this too much. You've told yourself too many times that it's okay to ignore this information. It's okay to do whatever it is you want, day after day. Not just, like I said, it's not like it's actually every other month. No, you're daily struggling with this. Daily you tell yourself you're not going to, and daily by the afternoon you've convinced yourself it's not that big of a deal. That's where this discipline comes in. Discipline, this is my favorite book when I was a kid, is Jane Eyre, and in it she speaks about how there's a quote that said, I'll never forget when I first read this, like, and understood it. It was like, morals are not there for when it's easy, is essentially what she was saying. It was when, you know, Mr. Rochester is trying to convince her to just be a mistress, and his regular, you know, his wife who has the mental issues upstairs is just going to be there, and Jane's going to be his mistress. And she's like, sir, like, morals are not for when it's easy, for when everything appears correct and I'm about to be your wife. Morals are for when it's hard, for when I love you and you have all these riches, more than I've ever imagined in all my years as an orphaned child who was hated and in poverty, and this appears to fix all my wildest dreams. It's for when I've decided, you know, I'm never going to be someone's mistress, or I'm never going to be, like, you know, push some woman who has mental issues who you promised yourself to the side just because I want you. That's not what all of my years of thinking to myself, what am I going to choose, what am I going to do, have even been about. It's been about doing the right thing all the time. That's what discipline is for. That's when you're like, it's not about those times when it was easy to just choose whatever, or like, oh, it's like not a big deal. It's about those times when it's hard, when you're told you have a disease, when you feel like your business could go to the next level, but it's not, when you feel like your family life could be much better, but it's not, your marital problems could be better, but they aren't. That is when you realize, like, you need to discipline. You need to go the full 9 yards, the full amount. And then once you're disciplined, once you're calibrated, then you can maybe ease back into something, maybe. But you may not be the people who can. So here we read on. On the other hand, if your joints are in pain and you're stressed out and on the edge, or you suffer from a quick and out of control tongue, and you're sorry because you keep hurting folks due to your loose lips, check your diet for sugar, white flour, or cocaine. It's all the same. That's literally what she writes. All of these substances have the same debilitating and addictive content. Carbs and sugar. If you cannot watch your mouth, if you're somebody who says terrible things during arguments, you're somebody who needs to lay off sugar and carbs. Carbs are definitely my vice, but sugar has always been something I love. Here we have, if you're sluggish, heavy, out of tune, if you think all those fat-filled pastries, cookies, cakes, and french fries are fulfilling, and that they chill you out and make you feel better, then the next time you take a mouthful of any of these, check to see if starch is becoming your lover. If you're experiencing premature aging and cellulite thighs, maybe you're not taking enough exercise, doing enough movements. And that also is if you are feeling constipated, but you're like, oh, I'm eating all those like fibrous foods, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be. Are you moving physically? You know, right? I keep saying, if you're stagnant, move. If you feel like nothing's happening in your business life, go out and take a walk. If you feel like nothing's happening in your like personal life or like in your spiritual life, go out and dance, move, physically move, and that will recreate movement around you energetically for other things. And then also for digestively, if you feel like you're doing everything else, go move, go do some yoga. Even if you're not somebody who wants to jump around to the music or even be still to the music and just move gently, just do some yoga, do something that someone else is telling you how to do, and it will affect other areas of your life, digestive and physical. Come on, sisters, friends, it's time to get busy. If you keep attracting negative people into your life and emotional pain is your domain, then you're probably consuming 4 square meals a day with an overload of fatty meats, fried foods, fast drinks, junk foods, and morning coffee breaks, all of which lower your vibration and drain away your sacred powers. Child, you better check your plate. Is she friendly or is she girlfriend destructive? Is she turning out your lights with each bite? Time to change your plate to some greens, whole grains, and freshly prepared beans. My trick with beans is my Instant Pot. Instant Pot, I don't know. It's one of those two. Either way, it cooks beans from dried form, which is super cheap, to fully cooked and ready to eat in like an hour, less than an hour, like 45 minutes. Depending on how you like your beans, 30 to 45 minutes to an hour-ish. Not that long compared to soaking, cooking the next day for all day, stirring, no. But even if you don't have one, there's like pressure cookers, there's cooking them the regular way. If it's overnight, it's still pretty easy. You just leave it there overnight and check on it first thing in the morning, stir it up, add a little more water if you need to. Beans are such a cheap, easy way to add to the protein and not be so overloaded with the carbs that you're not supposed to be eating, the sugars that you're not supposed to be eating. The sacred woman really evolves as she is healed by consuming the right things, becoming one with the elements of nature, earth, air, fire, and water. As she masters her inner and outer environment, she receives supreme access to her body as a universe complete unto itself. She will discover that she has dominion over the heavens and the earth, right? That's a very kudu way of thinking. We are in control. We are in control of ourselves, of the spirits around us, of our future, and of the control we have in these particular instances. There are people out there doing their own thing which can affect us, but there are a lot of things that we're not doing for ourselves. We're not disciplining for ourselves that we could be doing to make our lives better and our situation better amongst each other. She will discover she has dominion over the heavens and the earth. Say a volcano is threatening to erupt. A sacred woman in her full radiance can talk to the elements and ask the volcano or earthquake or hurricane or other phenomenon on a human or environmental level to please be still, and it is done. Okay, so if you are finding yourself not having that control, it's because you're not there yet. It's time to put in that work and get to that point. There are some times when I'm able to say be still, and it is still, and there are still ways that I'm working to make it so that I can do that in other instances. The issue is that sometimes you find it's easier to do that with strangers, to do that with, out in the world, than it is to do it in your own home, to do it with the people you love, your nephews, your nieces, your husband, wife, your best friend, your children, especially if they're a little older and they're used to you living a certain different type of life, and now you're doing your own thing. You got older siblings maybe used to treating you this sort of way, now that you're asking to be treated this sort of way. So you have all of these things around you, and I feel like it's, when you're outside, people don't know you, they're willing to more respect who you said you are. The closer in you get, the more hard it is, should I say, to be able to expunge that energy, because people are so used to you being this other person, being this person that either they can whip around, that when they talk to you, you speak nonsense, you aren't really speaking the truth, you speaking a bunch of juvenile, nonsense, or maybe, so they're not used to you speaking things that make sense, that are, on a different level than they're used to being on. They're not used to you being ahead of where they are. They're not used to, not being able to pull the mind games that they usually pull on you. Whatever it is, it takes a certain point. When she says you are at that point where you're able to say be still and other things are still, that's when you're able to be at your place of center. Other things know that if they are not still, you're not going to be shook from where you are. And in fact, if they want the response that they are saying they need, they want that thing that they say they need to act accordingly to how you're acting, which is in your center, which is a space that you can control. It's a space where you're not letting your emotions, snap out. Someone says something, and then that's it. Shh, we're done. I have that struggle, especially with my husband. I have that struggle. We get to that point, and he says something, and I'm just like, it's over. It's done. We're done for the rest of the night. Now I'm pissed. Now we're gonna argue. We're here to do this. You know what I'm saying? That's the point that you're trying to avoid. The point where you're so jarred off that thing will just knock you so off far your center, you'll never get back there for the rest of the night. Maybe even a week, maybe in a couple days, who knows? And sometimes you do something so bad that you realize that you just need to get back in your center, and you go stay in there, and you recognize. Sometimes it ain't like that. All right, we'll finish it up. By the time you reach total natural living and fasting, eating 100% live uncooked foods at the very top of the purification pyramid, with weeks or months of purification wrapped around you like a lapa, you'll find that you've been made over into the divine sacred queen. You will be an angelic force to reckon with, a mover, a shaker, a maker of pure light. And as you're sitting on your seat of power, positioned to transform your world and everyone in it, always remember, if you want to ascend on the sacred woman path, know that you become one with all that you consume. So we close with asking, we say, guide me to choose well from the fruits of the earth and help me to eat natural, sacred foods that keep my body temple healthy and pure. Alright, with that, we end. Our Sacred Woman Sister Circle number 11, and I'm grateful for you joining us, and I'll see you next Sunday.